After losing her medical license, my mom started using my sister as her personal experiment, so I took her down in a way she never saw coming. But now, 3 years later, she's sending creepy gifts saying, a mother always protects her child. My mother was a failed doctor who lost her license 2 years ago. To this day, she refuses to tell us why she lost it, but I think it has something to do with what she's doing to my younger sister Madison. Each Friday, she takes Madison out of school early, and by the time I arrive home, Madison is in bed, passed out, clutching a teddy bear with a cup of purple liquid sitting on her nightstand. I remember the first time I saw it, I tried to enter Madison's room and taste that purple liquid, but I never managed to because the moment I reached for the purple cup, Mom snapped at me saying, don't you dare touch that. She's sick. You aren't. It honestly worried me. I didn't say anything about it for months, until Madison started feeling genuinely unwell after drinking whatever Mom was giving her. She'd be throwing up multiple days of the week, not really eating, and losing weight rapidly. That's when it happened. One Friday when Madison was unwell, and I noticed Mom frantically walking around the kitchen, talking to herself. I asked what she was doing, but she didn't respond and continued muttering quietly. Roughly 10 minutes later, she appeared to have lost control of herself, and she gripped my shoulders saying, you stay here and watch Madison. I need to get her more medicine. Then she headed to the store. I rushed to Madison's room and noticed she had an empty expression, but was conscious. I asked how she was doing, and she simply shook her head saying, not good, but Mom said she will get me something to make me feel better. I asked whether the medicine Mom provided actually helped, but she only shrugged saying, I sometimes feel sick before she makes me take it, but I always feel worse after I take it. My blood ran cold as I understood what was happening. Listen, Madison, I need you to trust me here. Tonight, please, whatever Mom gives you, don't take it. And if she forces you, spit it out immediately. Madison simply nodded and began falling asleep again. Later, when Mom came back and prepared Madison's next dose, I observed from the hallway corner and signaled Madison to spit it out. As expected, she waited for Mom to exit and expelled everything. The following morning, when I checked on Madison, she told me she still felt sick, but better than she usually does the day after. That confirmed my suspicion. The following day, I contacted Dad at his office, and I attempted to sound calm while telling him what I believed Mom was doing. I wasn't sure he'd trust me, but perhaps my tone convinced him, because he left work right away and came to get us. We immediately went to the urgent care facility, requesting the medicine be tested for toxins. I gave the doctor the container of purple liquid and described the situation, and I saw the concerned glances the nurses exchanged. Several hours later, a social services representative came and questioned us about our mom and the duration of these incidents, and I told them everything. That evening, a doctor entered the waiting area and took a seat next to me. He explained that the purple mixture contained concentrated ipecac syrup, a substance that induces severe vomiting and nausea. Your mother was making Madison sick on purpose, he said quietly. This is a severe form of medical abuse. He told me Madison was fortunate I prevented her from consuming more, since prolonged exposure could cause permanent damage to her esophagus and heart. After Dad learned everything, he simply broke down crying and said, I'm sorry, I trusted her. She did this to me during our honeymoon. She promised she wouldn't with you. Madison and I were shaking. We spoke with the officer, and he said us at the house to question Mom and collect evidence. He told us he would drive us home with his partner, and he did. But when we pulled into our driveway, every light in the house was on. The front door was wide open, and it was obvious that Mom was gone. She somehow knew. The officer stepped out of the patrol car and surveyed the scene. His partner followed, hand resting on her radio. They approached the house cautiously while Dad, Madison, and I waited by the vehicle. The officers disappeared through the open doorway, and we heard them calling out, announcing their presence. Minutes passed. Madison gripped my hand tighter with each second. When they emerged, the lead officer shook his head. House is clear. Looks like she packed in a hurry. He walked back to us, notebook in hand. We'll need to search the premises thoroughly. Would you prefer to wait here or come inside? Dad wiped his eyes and straightened up. We'll come in. The kids need their things. He put his arms around both of us, guiding us toward the house. Inside, drawers hung open in the kitchen. Mom's purse was gone from its usual spot on the counter. Her keys weren't on the hook. The coffee maker was still on, half a pot sitting cold on the warmer. In the living room, photo albums lay scattered on the floor. She'd taken specific pictures, leaving empty spaces throughout the pages. The officers moved methodically through each room, taking photos and notes. One of them bagged the remaining bottles of purple liquid from the medicine cabinet. Madison stayed close to me as we climbed the stairs to pack some clothes. Her room looked untouched except for one thing. The teddy bear she always clutched during those Friday afternoons was gone. Madison noticed immediately and started crying. She took Mr. Buttons, she whispered. I hugged her tight. We'll get you a new one, okay? A better one. Dad appeared in the doorway carrying an empty suitcase. Let's pack what you need for a few days. We're going to stay with Aunt Victoria for a while. While Madison gathered her clothes, I slipped into my own room. Everything seemed normal until I spotted an envelope on my pillow. My name was written across it in Mom's handwriting. I grabbed it and shoved it in my pocket before anyone could see. Downstairs, the officers were finishing their initial search. The lead officer approached Dad with a grim expression. We've issued an alert for her vehicle. Do you have any idea where she might go? Family? Friends? Dad shook his head. Her parents passed away years ago. She doesn't have siblings. As for friends, he trailed off. She kept to herself mostly. Said she didn't trust people after losing her license. We'll need a recent photo and a list of any places she frequented, the officer said. Also, any credit cards or bank accounts you're aware of. While Dad handled the questions, I helped Madison carry her suitcase to the car. The envelope in my pocket felt like it was burning through the fabric. Once we were alone in the backseat, I carefully opened it. The note was brief. You don't understand what you've done. She needs her medicine. Without it, she'll get worse. You'll see. Love, Mom. My hands shook. I crumpled the paper and shoved it back in my pocket. Madison was watching me with wide eyes. What was that? Nothing important. I lied. Just some old homework. Aunt Victoria lived 40 minutes away in a quiet suburb. She met us at the door in her bathrobe, hair in curlers, looking shocked despite Dad's phone call warning her we were coming. Oh my goodness, come in, she fussed, ushering us inside. Madison, sweetheart, you look so pale. We settled into her guest rooms while Dad filled her in on everything. I could hear their muffled voices through the wall, Aunt Victoria's gasps of disbelief punctuating Dad's explanations. Madison curled up in the bed next to mine, already half asleep from exhaustion. The next few days blurred together. Police came by to ask more questions. A social worker visited to check on Madison. Dad took time off work to handle the legal matters. He filed for an emergency protective order and started divorce proceedings. Madison slowly began eating more, keeping food down for the first time in months. Color returned to her cheeks. On the fourth day, I found another envelope. This time it was tucked under the windshield wiper of Aunt Victoria's car. Same handwriting. I opened it with trembling fingers. I know where you are. A mother always knows. She needs me. You can't keep her from me forever. I ran inside and showed Dad immediately. He called the police and they increased patrols in the neighborhood. Aunt Victoria installed new locks and a security system. We weren't allowed to go outside alone anymore. Madison didn't understand why everyone was so tense. She kept asking when we could go home, when she could return to school, when things would be normal again. Dad and I took turns distracting her with games and movies, but the worry never left his eyes. A week passed without incident. Madison continued improving. She gained 3 pounds and hadn't thrown up once. The dark circles under her eyes faded. She even laughed at one of Dad's terrible jokes during dinner. Then I found the purple bottle. It was tucked in the bottom of Madison's backpack, wrapped in a plastic bag. My blood turned to ice. I grabbed it and ran to find Dad. He was on the phone with his lawyer in the kitchen. When he saw what I was holding, he dropped the phone. Where did you find this? His voice was barely a whisper. Madison's backpack. She must have. I couldn't finish the sentence. The implications were too terrifying. Dad called the police again. They searched the house thoroughly but found no signs of forced entry. The security system hadn't been triggered. Somehow Mom had gotten close enough to plant the bottle without anyone noticing. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat by Madison's door, listening for any unusual sounds. Around 2 a.m. I heard something outside. A soft rustling near the window. I crept over and peered through the curtains. A shadow moved across the yard, too quick to identify clearly. By the time I woke Dad and we checked outside, whoever it was had vanished. The next morning, Dad made a decision. We're going to stay with my brother in Seattle for a while, just until they find her. But I knew running wouldn't solve anything. Mom was smart. She'd been planning things for years, poisoning Madison right under our noses. She'd find us wherever we went. Dad, we can't keep running, I said. We need to catch her. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Absolutely not. I'm not putting you kids in danger. We're already in danger, I argued. argued. She's getting bolder. What if next time she doesn't just leave a bottle? What if she tries to take Madison? Dad's face went pale, but he shook his head. That's the police's job, not ours. But I couldn't let it go. That night I stayed up again, this time with Madison's phone. I knew Mom's number by heart. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time before I started typing. Mom, it's me. I miss you. They won't let me see you, but I want to. Can we meet somewhere? Just us. Don't tell anyone. Madison. I hit send before I could change my mind. The response came within minutes. My sweet girl. I miss you too. Yes, we can meet. Tomorrow night, 11 p.m. at the park where I used to take you to feed the ducks. Come alone. I love you. My heart pounded. I had her. I deleted the message immediately and cleared the phone's history. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Tomorrow night, the park. I had to tell Dad, but something held me back. He'd never agree to use Madison as bait, even fake bait. He'd call the police, they'd stake out the park, and Mom would spot them from a mile away. She'd disappear again, and we'd be right back where we started. The next morning, I watched Madison eat breakfast, her appetite finally returning to normal. She spread peanut butter on her toast, humming some song from a cartoon. Dad sat across from her, dark circles under his eyes from another sleepless night. Aunt Victoria bustled around the kitchen, making more food than any of us could possibly eat. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, locking the door behind me. I needed a plan. Mom expected Madison at the park at 11 p.m. She'd be watching for any sign of police or adults. But what if I went instead? In the dark, from a distance, I could pass for my younger sister, get close enough to record her, maybe even get her to confess what she'd been doing. The day crawled by. I helped Madison with a puzzle, played board games, watched movies, normal activities that felt surreal given what I was planning. Dad spent most of the day on the phone with lawyers and real estate agents, discussing the possibility of selling the house and moving permanently. Aunt Victoria kept bringing us snacks and checking the locks on the windows. Around 4 p.m., I heard Dad talking to someone new on the phone. His voice was strained. Yes, I understand. No, we haven't heard from her directly. Just the notes. A pause. What do you mean she contacted you? My stomach dropped. I crept closer to the kitchen doorway. She said what? That's completely false. She was poisoning our daughter. We have medical proof. Another pause. No, of course you can't visit right now. It's not safe. His voice rose. I don't care what she told you. She's dangerous. He hung up and slumped against the counter. Aunt Victoria touched his shoulder. Who was that? My cousin in Oregon. Apparently my wife has been calling extended family, telling them I'm keeping the kids from her because of a custody dispute. She's claiming I coached them to lie about her. He rubbed his face. She's trying to turn everyone against us. Aunt Victoria's expression hardened. Well, they'll see the truth eventually. But I wasn't so sure. Mom had always been good at manipulation. She'd convinced Dad she'd changed after poisoning him on their honeymoon. She'd hidden her abuse of Madison for months, maybe years. Who knew what stories she was spinning now? That evening I made my preparations. I found one of Madison's hoodies in the laundry and stuffed it under my bed. I charged Madison's phone fully and tested the voice recording app. I even practiced walking like Madison, trying to mimic her smaller steps and the way she slightly favored her left foot. Dinner was tense. Dad barely touched his food. Madison chatted about a book she was reading, oblivious to the anxiety radiating from the adults. I forced myself to eat, knowing I'd need energy for later. After dinner, I helped with dishes while Dad took a call from the police. No progress on finding Mom. Her car had been spotted on traffic cameras heading north 2 days ago, but the trail went cold after that. They were checking motels and campgrounds, but so far, nothing. By 9 p.m., everyone was getting ready for bed. I hugged Madison extra tight when I tucked her in. Sleep well, I whispered. You too, she said, already drowsy. Tomorrow, can we make cookies with Aunt Victoria? Sure, I lied, hoping there would be a tomorrow where cookie making was our biggest concern. I went to my room and closed the door, then sat on my bed fully dressed, waiting. I could hear Dad moving around, checking locks, setting the security system. Aunt Victoria's TV murmured through the wall. By 10:15, the house was quiet. I slipped Madison's hoodie over my clothes and pulled the hood up. I grabbed her phone and crept to my window. Aunt Victoria's house was old, with windows that didn't quite latch properly. I'd noticed it the first day, but hadn't said anything. Now I was grateful for the oversight. The window slid open silently. I climbed out onto the garage roof, then shimmied down the drain pipe. My feet hit the ground softer than expected. The security system only covered the doors and ground floor windows. Another oversight that worked in my favor. The park was a 15-minute walk through quiet suburban streets. I kept to the shadows, hood pulled low, trying to look like a young girl sneaking out to meet her mother. Every car that passed made me tense, but none slowed down. The park entrance loomed ahead, streetlights casting long shadows across the path. The duck pond was in the center, surrounded by benches and playground equipment. During the day, it was cheerful and bright. At night, it felt like something from a horror movie. I checked Madison's phone. 10:55 p.m. I walked slowly toward the pond, shoulders hunched, trying to make myself smaller. The recording app was ready, the phone tucked in the hoodie pocket. A figure emerged from behind the playground structure. Mom. She looked different, hair cut short and dyed darker, wearing clothes I'd never seen before, but her walk was unmistakable. That slight forward lean like she was always in a hurry. Madison, sweetheart, she called softly. You came. I kept my head down and walked toward her, not trusting my voice yet. She met me halfway, reaching out to touch my shoulder. I flinched back, which seemed to fit Madison's current fear of her. It's okay, baby. I'm not going to hurt you. I never wanted to hurt you. Her voice was gentle, motherly, the same tone she'd used while poisoning my sister. They filled your head with lies, haven't they? I nodded slightly, still not speaking. I knew they would. That's why I had to see you, to explain everything. She sat on a nearby bench and patted the spot beside her. Come sit with mommy. I sat at the far end of the bench, keeping distance between us. The phone in my pocket was recording everything. Your father never understood my medical background, she began. What I was giving you wasn't poison, sweetheart. It was a special treatment. You have a condition, a rare one. Without the medicine, you'll get very sick. I finally spoke, pitching my voice higher to sound like Madison. But the medicine made me sick. Only at first. That's how it works. You feel worse before you feel better. Like chemotherapy. She leaned closer. You've been feeling better lately, haven't you? That's because the treatment was working. But now that you've stopped taking it, you're going to get sick again. Very sick. The doctor said it was poison, I whispered. Her face hardened for a moment before softening again. Doctors don't always understand alternative treatments. That's why I lost my license, because I was too advanced for them. They couldn't comprehend my methods. She reached into her bag and I tensed, but she only pulled out a small bottle. Purple liquid sloshed inside. I brought your medicine. Just one dose to help you feel better. Then we can figure out how to continue your treatment without interference. I don't want it, I said quickly. Madison, sweetie, you need it. Remember how sick you were getting? The weight loss, the fatigue, that's your condition progressing. Without treatment, it will get worse. She unscrewed the cap. Just one sip. For mommy, I stood up, backing away. No. Her expression shifted, the motherly mask slipping. Madison, don't be difficult. You know what happens when you're difficult. That's when I made my mistake. I forgot to keep my head down, and the streetlight caught my face. Her eyes widened as she realized who I really was. You! She hissed, jumping to her feet. Where is she? Where's my daughter? Safe from you, I said, dropping the fake voice. Her face contorted with rage. You poisoned her against me. You always were jealous of our special bond. Now you're culling her by keeping her from her medicine. It's not medicine. It's ipecac syrup. You were making her sick on purpose. I pulled out the phone, showing her it was recording. And now I have proof. She lunged for the phone, but I was ready. I dodged sideways, running toward the park entrance. She chased after me, surprisingly fast for someone in heels. You don't understand, she screamed. She needs me. You're killing her. I ran harder, my longer legs giving me an advantage, but she knew the park better, cutting through the playground to intercept me. I had to veer toward the woods, stumbling over roots in the darkness. You can't run forever, she called. I'll get her back. A mother always protects her child. I burst out of the woods onto a different street, disoriented. Which way was Aunt Victoria's house? I picked a direction and ran, hearing her heels clicking on pavement behind me. A car turned the corner ahead, headlights blinding me. I waved frantically, hoping they'd stop. The car slowed and I recognized it. One of the police patrol cars that had been watching the neighborhood. Help! I shouted. She's chasing me. The officers reacted immediately. One jumped out while the other reversed toward Mom. She saw them and turned, disappearing back into the park. The officer near me spoke into his radio, calling for backup to surround the area. Are you hurt? He asked me. I shook my head, gasping for breath. I'm okay, but she's getting away. We'll find her. Let's get you home first. They drove me back to Aunt Victoria's house, which was lit up like Christmas. Dad was on the front lawn with two other officers, his face a mix of terror and fury when he saw me. What were you thinking? He shouted, and pulled me me into a crushing hug. You could have been called. I pulled out Madison's phone. I recorded everything. She admitted to giving Madison poison. She tried to give me more. The officers took the phone as evidence while Dad ushered me inside. Madison was awake, crying in Aunt Victoria's arms. When she saw me, she broke free and ran over. I woke up and you were gone, she sobbed. I thought Mom took you. I'm okay, I assured her. I'm sorry I scared you. The police searched the park and surrounding area for hours but found no trace of Mom. She'd vanished again, but this time we had her confession. The recording was clear. Her admission that she'd been giving Madison ipecac, her delusional justification, her threats. The next few days were a whirlwind of police interviews and protective measures. The recording was analyzed and authenticated. A warrant was issued for Mom's arrest on charges of child abuse and attempted poisoning. Our story made the local news, though they kept our names private. But Mom wasn't done. She'd spent years perfecting her manipulation tactics, and she wasn't going to give up easily. The letters started again, but now they came from different places. Slipped under doors, left on car windshields, even mailed to Dad's office. You're killing her, one read. Every day without her medicine is another step toward her death. When she gets sick, really sick, remember that you did this. Another was addressed to Madison. My sweet girl, I know they're keeping you from me, but I'm watching. I'm always watching. When you need me, I'll be there. Dad hired a private security company to monitor the house. Madison wasn't allowed outside without an adult. I started carrying pepper spray and checking over my shoulder constantly. The stress was wearing on all of us. 2 weeks after the park incident, Madison started feeling unwell. Just a cold, the doctor assured us. But I saw the fear in Dad's eyes. What if Mom had been telling the truth? What if Madison really did have some rare condition? We got second and third opinions, blood tests, scans, examinations by specialists. Everything came back normal. Madison was healthy, just fighting off a regular virus. But the seed of doubt had been planted. That's when the calls to family members intensified. Mom was systematic, contacting distant relatives, old family friends, even Dad's co-workers. Her story evolved with each telling. Sometimes she was the victim of a custody battle. Other times, she claimed Dad was abusive and she was trying to protect her children. She even told some people that I was mentally ill and had poisoned Madison myself. Most people saw through her lies, especially once the news story spread, but some believed her. Dad's aunt called to lecture him about keeping a mother from her child. A family friend stopped speaking to us entirely. The isolation was part of her strategy, I realized. Cut us off from support, make us vulnerable. One morning, I found Madison in the bathroom, holding a bottle of purple cough syrup from the medicine cabinet. She was just staring at it. What are you doing? I asked gently. She looked up with tears in her eyes. What if Mom was right? What if I really am sick and need medicine? I took the bottle from her hands. You're not sick. The doctors confirmed it. Mom was lying. But what if the doctors are wrong? What if I get really sick and die because I didn't take the medicine? The manipulation was working, even from a distance. I hugged Madison tight. You won't die. I promise. Mom was making you sick, not helping you. But doubt lingered in her eyes. That afternoon, while Dad was at another lawyer meeting and Aunt Victoria was grocery shopping, I noticed Madison acting strangely. She kept checking her tablet, then quickly closing apps when I looked over. What are you doing? I asked. Nothing. Just playing games. But her guilty expression said otherwise. When she went to the bathroom, I grabbed her tablet. There in her email was a message thread. Mom had created a fake account, pretending to be a friend from school. The messages were subtle at first, asking how Madison was feeling, if she missed her friends, then gradually introducing the idea that maybe her family was overreacting, that her mom just wanted to help her feel better. I scrolled through weeks of correspondence. Mom had been grooming Madison, slowly breaking down her defenses. The latest message was the most alarming. If you really miss your mom, I know how you can see her, but it has to be our secret. Madison came back to find me reading. Her face crumpled. I'm sorry. I just wanted to talk to someone who understood. This isn't your friend from school, I said gently. This is Mom pretending. Her eyes widened. But she knew things. About my teacher, about the class hamster. Mom knows those things too. She's been watching us, remember? Madison started crying. I held her while she sobbed, feeling the weight of our situation. Mom wasn't going to stop. She'd find new ways to reach Madison, to manipulate her, to try to get her back. That night, I showed Dad the emails. His face went gray as he read through them. We need to leave, he said. Go somewhere she can't find us. She'll always find us, I argued. Running won't solve this. We need to catch her. We tried that. You nearly got hurt because I did it alone. What if we work together? Set a real trap. Dad shook his head. It's too dangerous. But I could see him wavering. The constant fear, the isolation, the manipulation, it was wearing him down too. We couldn't live like this forever. Over the next few days, I developed a plan. Mom was getting desperate, taking bigger risks to contact Madison. She'd show up eventually if she thought Madison was alone and vulnerable. We just had to create the right opportunity. I proposed the idea to Dad and the police. Use Madison's tablet to continue the conversation. Agreed to a meeting, but have officers hidden nearby. Dad hated it, but even he admitted we were running out of options. The detective in charge of our case was skeptical. She's smart. She'll spot surveillance. Not if we do it right, I insisted. She's emotional about Madison. It's making her sloppy. After much debate, they agreed to a modified version of my plan. We'd continue the email correspondence, try to get more information about Mom's whereabouts, but no actual meeting. It was safer, they said. But I knew Mom wouldn't reveal anything substantial over email. She needed to believe Madison was really coming to her. So I did what I'd done before. I took matters into my own hands. Late one night while Dad slept, I used Madison's tablet to send a message. I want to see you. They're taking me to a doctor appointment tomorrow at 2 p.m. I can slip away for a few minutes. Meet me behind the medical building. The response was almost instant. Yes, my darling, I'll be there. Don't let them give you any shots or medicine. Only I know what's really good for you. I deleted the messages and went to bed, my heart racing. Tomorrow, one way or another, this would end. The next morning, I acted normally. Had breakfast, helped Madison with her homework, watched TV. Around noon, I complained of a headache. I think I need some air, I told Dad. Can I take a walk around the block? He frowned. Take your phone. Stay on the main streets. Be back in 20 minutes. I nodded and headed out. But instead of walking around the block, I went straight to the medical building 6 blocks away. It was 1:45 p.m. I positioned myself where I could see the back entrance while staying hidden. Then I waited. At exactly 2 p.m., a figure appeared. Mom, wearing a wig and sunglasses, but unmistakably her. She kept checking her phone, looking around nervously. I pulled out my phone and called the police, whispering my location. She's here, behind the medical building on 5th Street. Hurry. Then I stepped out of hiding. Looking for someone? She spun around, her face cycling through surprise, anger, and something like grief. You again. Where's Madison? Safe. Away from you. You're destroying her, she said, voice breaking. You have no idea what you've done. The damage you're causing. The only damage was from you, poisoning her week after week. It wasn't poison, she screamed. It was treatment. She has cyclic vomiting syndrome. Without management, she'll suffer episodes that could cull her. The ipecac was controlling it, preventing the worst attacks. For a moment, I wavered. She sounded so convinced, so desperate. But then I remembered Madison's suffering, the doctor's diagnosis, the months of illness. If that were true, you'd have told the doctors. You'd have medical records. You wouldn't have hidden it. Her face crumbled. They wouldn't listen. They never listened. Just like with your father. I was helping him too, and he betrayed me. Sirens wailed in the distance. Mom's head snapped up. Realization dawning. You called them, she said flatly. It's over. Please, just turn yourself in. Get help. She laughed bitterly. Help? They'll lock me up and let my baby die. She backed away. This isn't over. I'll never stop fighting for her. The sirens were getting closer. Mom turned and ran, but this time she didn't get far. Police cars converged from multiple directions, boxing her in. I watched as they arrested her. Her screams about Madison needing her echoing off the buildings. The patrol car doors slammed shut with Mom secured in the back. She pressed her face against the window, mouthing words I couldn't hear. The officer who'd taken my statement walked over, handing me a business card. We'll need you to come to the station tomorrow for a formal statement, he said. Your recording is crucial evidence. I nodded, watching the patrol car pull away. Mom's face remained at the window until they turned the corner. Back at Aunt Victoria's house, Dad was pacing the living room while Madison sat on the couch, clutching a throw pillow. When I walked in, Dad grabbed me by the shoulders. Never do that again, he said, voice shaking. Promise me. I promise, I said, though we both knew I'd do it again if necessary. Madison jumped up and wrapped her arms around my waist. The police said they caught Mom. Is it true? Yeah, they got her. That night, none of us slept well. I kept checking my phone, expecting another message, another threat, but nothing came. The silence felt wrong after weeks weeks of constant harassment. The next morning, we drove to the police station. Madison stayed with Aunt Victoria while Dad and I gave our statements. The detective played back my recording, Mom's voice filling the small interview room. Her delusions sounded even more disturbing in the harsh fluorescent light. This is excellent evidence, the detective said. Combined with the medical reports in the previous incidents, we have a strong case. But I knew Mom wouldn't give up easily. Even from jail, she'd find ways to reach out, to manipulate, to maintain her hold on Madison. Sure enough, 3 days later, Dad received a call from Mom's court-appointed attorney. She wanted to see Madison, claimed it was her right as a mother. Absolutely not, Dad said, hanging up. But the calls kept coming. The attorney argued that denying visitation could hurt Dad's case in the custody hearing, that Mom deserved a chance to say goodbye properly, that Madison might need closure. I found Dad in the kitchen that night, staring at legal documents spread across the table. Custody papers, restraining order applications, medical records. She's requesting supervised visitation, he said without looking up. Her lawyer says denying it makes us look vindictive. That's manipulation, I said. She's using the system against us. I know, but what if the judge agrees with her? The next few weeks became a blur of legal meetings, court appearances, and psychiatric evaluations. Mom underwent psychological assessment, the results sealed pending trial. Madison had to speak with child psychologists, social workers, and guardian ad litem. Each interview drained her a little more. One afternoon, I found Madison in her room at Aunt Victoria's, sorting through old photos on her tablet. Pictures from before everything went wrong. Mom pushing her on a swing, Mom braiding her hair, Mom reading her bedtime stories. I miss who she used to be, Madison said quietly, or who I thought she was. I sat beside her. Those memories are still real. The good parts happened, even if they're mixed with bad. Do you think she ever really loved me, or was it all just part of her sickness? I didn't have an answer for that. The preliminary hearing arrived faster than expected. We sat in the courthouse hallway, waiting to be called. Madison wore her best dress, the one Mom had bought her for last year's school concert. I wondered if she'd chosen it on purpose. Through the courtroom doors, we could hear muffled voices. Mom's attorney arguing for leniency, citing her mental health struggles and lack of prior criminal record. The prosecutor countering with the severity of the abuse, the calculated nature of the poisoning. When they called us in, Mom was already seated at the defendant's table. She'd lost weight, her hair grown out to its natural color. She looked smaller somehow, less threatening in her orange jumpsuit. But when her eyes found Madison, the intensity was still there. Madison testified via closed-circuit TV from another room. The judge's decision to spare her direct confrontation. I sat with her, holding her hand as she answered questions about the purple medicine, the Friday rituals, the fear. She said I was sick, Madison told the prosecutor, that I needed the medicine or bad things would happen. And how did the medicine make you feel? Sick, really sick. Like my stomach was turning inside out. Mom's attorney tried to paint a picture of a devoted mother struggling with mental illness, making misguided choices out of love. But the medical evidence was damning. The pattern of abuse too clear. During a recess, Mom's attorney approached Dad in the hallway. She wants to make a deal. Guilty plea in exchange for treatment instead of prison. Mandatory psychiatric care. No contact order until Madison's 18. Dad looked at me, then at Madison. We'll consider it. That night, we discussed it as a family. The trial would be brutal, forcing Madison to relive everything. But a plea deal felt like letting Mom off easy. What do you want? Dad asked Madison. She thought for a long time. I want her to get help, real help, and I want to feel safe. The next morning, Dad met with the prosecutor. They negotiated terms: guilty plea to child endangerment, 5 years probation, mandatory inpatient psychiatric treatment for at least 1 year, no contact until Madison turned 18, and then only if Madison initiated it. Mom took the deal. The sentencing hearing was brief. Mom stood before the judge, finally admitting what she'd done. Not fully. She still claimed she'd been trying to help, but enough for legal purposes. I never meant to hurt my daughter, she said, voice breaking. Everything I did was out of love. Even if I see now it was wrong. The judge accepted the plea agreement. As court officers prepared to escort Mom to the psychiatric facility, she turned to look at us one last time. Take care of her, she said to me. Please. I nodded, not trusting my voice. After the hearing, we drove back to Aunt Victoria's in silence. Madison stared out the window, processing everything. The danger was over, at least for now, but the healing would take much longer. That evening, I helped Madison pack her things. Dad had found us a rental house in a different school district, far from our old home and its memories. A fresh start. Will we ever see her again? Madison asked, folding her clothes. Not for a long time, and only if you want to. She nodded, placing her stuffed animals in a box. We'd bought her a new teddy bear, but she'd named it Mr. Buttons Jr., unable to fully let go of what Mom had taken. The next few months passed quietly. Madison started at her new school, made friends, joined the art club. Her health improved dramatically. No more mysterious illnesses, no more Friday afternoon episodes. She gained weight, her energy returned, her laughter came easier. I started my senior year, threw myself into college applications, tried to pretend everything was normal, but I still checked locks obsessively, still startled when cars drove slowly past our house, still monitored Madison's moods for any sign of manipulation's lingering effects. Dad threw himself into work and therapy, processing his own guilt and trauma. He'd been Mom's first victim, and the weight of not protecting his children from her crushed him daily. One afternoon, sorting through mail, I found a letter forwarded from our old address. No return label, but I recognized the handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. I'm getting better, Mom wrote. The doctors here understand. They're helping me see what I did wrong. I think about you both every day. I'm sorry. When Madison is ready, if she's ever ready, I'll be here. Love, Mom. I showed it to Dad. He read it twice, then fed it into the shredder. Not yet, he said. Maybe not ever. Madison's 12th birthday approached. She requested a small party, just family and a few school friends. As I helped her plan it, she seemed lighter than she had in years. The morning of her birthday, she came to my room early, crawling into bed beside me like she used to when she was little. Do you think she remembers it's my birthday? She asked. Probably. Do you think she's really getting better? I hope so. She was quiet for a moment. I had a dream about her last night. We were at the park feeding ducks, but when I threw bread in the water, it turned purple. I pulled her closer. Just a dream. I know, but sometimes I still wonder if maybe I really was sick. If maybe she was right about some of it. The doctors all said you're healthy. Multiple doctors. I know that too. It's just hard to stop wondering. We lay there as the sun rose, two sisters who'd survived something no child should endure. The trauma would always be there, woven into who we were, but we were safe now. Madison was healthy. Dad was getting help. Mom was contained, hopefully healing in her own way. The birthday party was perfect. Madison laughed with her friends, played games, ate too much cake. Watching her, you'd never know what she'd been through. Kids are resilient that way. That night, as I helped clean up, Dad pulled me aside. Thank you, he said, for saving her, for being brave when I couldn't be. We saved each other, I said. 6 months later, a package arrived with no return address. Inside was Mr. Buttons, the original one Mom had taken. A note was pinned to his chest. He missed you. M. Madison held her old bear, tears streaming down her face. Then she walked to her room and placed him on a shelf next to Mr. Buttons Jr. I'm keeping both, she announced. And somehow, that felt right. The past and present existing together. The good memories preserved alongside the bad. All part of her story. We never responded to Mom's letters, but they kept coming monthly. Updates on her treatment, apologies, promises to do better. Dad filed them away unread after the first few. Evidence, he said, in case we ever needed it. Madison grew stronger, more confident. She stopped asking about Mom, stopped checking purple liquids suspiciously, stopped flinching when someone mentioned medicine. The healing wasn't linear. Some days were harder than others, but progress was real.